have formed the Women's Peace Movement in Northern Ireland, which is now, I think, called the Peace People, as simple as that, isn't it? The Peace People. And though you were the children's aunt, the first person to know about their deaths was you, wasn't it, Betty?
Yes, that's right. I'd seen the actual thing all happen, and I was the first one to actually see it. Mairead was on holiday when it happened on her way home from Achill Island. So I was really the first person to know what had happened.
Was it on your street?
No, just round the corner, about 200 yards from where I live, it had happened. But it could have been me, it could have been the girl next door to me, it could have been, it just happened that it was Anne Maguire. It could have been anybody that it happened to that day.
No, was it your immediate response to say something must be done? I mean, you'd been living with horror and tragedy for many years. Why particularly this tragedy? Why did that stimulate you into action?
God, it was the most awful thing anybody could have ever seen in their lives, and it just burst a dam inside. You just had to say, let's do something about it. Somebody's got to do something about this. It's so tragic.
And what did you do? What was your first action?
Well, my sister and myself and a friend were sitting in my living room. We decided that it was done I was very angry. And I had a little airmail pad that I write to my husband on, and I just went out. I didn't go to my immediate area. I went right into the heart of Andersonstown, and the first door I knocked, I really knocked it. I was angry, and when the woman came out, I said to her, "Do you want peace? Sign that." It wasn't on sort of like, would you like to sign something for peace? It was done in total anger, because I know the women of Andersonstown. I was born there, I was brought up there, I was reared in an Andersonstown ghetto, and I love them. They're great people. And I knew the women of Andersonstown couldn't have approved of what was going on. I knew they did. And they've shown that they don't approve of what's going on. The senseless slaughter of innocents. It's really, one death's not worth it.
Now, Marion, you didn't actually know Betty, did you?
No, I never met Betty until the day that the babies were buried. It was the first time that I'd actually said hello to Betty. I did phone her and invite her along to join the family up at the front of the church. And then I came together with Betty really on the first day of the 1st March. That was Saturday. We had our first protest.
Now, Betty talks about anger. What was your response? You came back from holiday and a great part of your family is being destroyed.
Well, my first response was, I walked down, the babies died on a Tuesday, 2 of them, and on Wednesday I went to the morgue with my brother-in-law, Jackie Maguire, and we looked at the 2 children lying in the morgue. We looked at the 3rd baby, John, his brain dead and him waiting to die, and we looked at his wife lying, not expected to live. And we went from there up to see the priest, and Jackie said to the priest, "We'll wait till Friday to arrange a triple funeral for my 3 babies." And then Jackie Maguire said, "And I want to speak to the press. I want to condemn the IRA. I want to condemn all men of violence and what's going on in our society." He was the first man to come out to condemn what was happening, and that left me free. I've always wanted to condemn what was going on. But whenever Jackie first spoke to the press, I went down to the television that afternoon, which was Wednesday, and I went out over the media, and I said I was speaking on behalf of the majority of our people, because we were being held in a grip of fear in our communities of the gunman, and fear that perhaps on the other side too, as we're taught to sort of look at that side and this side, which is ridiculous, that they too had guns, and maybe we should allow those who were supposed to be our protectors to hold on to theirs. But it was for me an opportunity to say that, we don't want violence. We're no longer going to be held to ransom by the men holding the guns. And this to me began to break down the wall of fear that all our communities living in.
Before we go on now to the organisation and your first successes, I think a lot of people would want to ask what I want to ask. That was 5 weeks ago. Has your sister recovered?
My sister, thanks be to God, is a real miracle. At the moment, we're hoping she'll be out within the next couple of weeks.
She's still in hospital?
She's still in hospital, but it's a miracle that she's alive, and I thank all the people throughout the world who were praying for Anne's recovery. She's just a pin in one knee and 2 fractures in the other, but thanks be to God, she's going to be 100%. But Jackie Maguire first said, "I hope the children haven't died in vain, it'll be a 7-day wonder, but we're going to ensure that no more children in Northern Ireland are going to die." And it doesn't matter if they're going into Roseland, the Protestant, or Milltown, the Catholic. We've had enough. There's going to be no more deaths in Northern Ireland.
Then how do you get signatures? Did you have to have special phones installed? What were the details
No, I find when I went around, I mean, I was just, I'm sitting here now, Elaine, and I'm just speaking for we've got 100,000 people on the streets of Northern Ireland who have come out. I'm only their mouthpiece, that's all I am.
100,000 in 5 weeks.
In
How
5
did it
weeks.
start?
Well, the first rally was on the Saturday after the children's death, and through the media again, I went on the media and I said if anyone would care to come to this rally on Saturday, including the Protestant people of Northern Ireland, Belfast. And we had, on the first rally, we had 10,000, and the women were running over and saying to me, I'm from Sandy Road, which is staunchly loyalist. I'm from Shankill Road, which is staunchly loyalist. And then we had a banner of Andersonstown women, and then the Twinbrook women come down. And every one of those women, I'm just saying what those normal, beautiful women want in Northern Ireland. We have so many gorgeous people there, and all you've heard about are the rotten, the bad things and the awful things that have happened. And we have lovely people in Northern Ireland, Elaine, really lovely.
You see, unfortunately in Northern Ireland we have two distinct communities. We have the Catholic community and we have the Protestant community. And for far too long it has suited a lot of people in positions to keep the two communities apart. There's not only a physical barrier up between the Catholic and the Protestant districts, but there's what's even more important, there's an invisible barrier of fear between those two communities. And as I said, has suited certain people to let them remain there. But what has happened now is that the ordinary, decent people of Northern Ireland are coming out now in their thousands to say that the gunman, and a few people saying they're speaking on behalf of the loyalists or they're speaking on behalf of the Catholics or Protestants, they're not speaking on our behalf. They've never spoken on our behalf because they've never asked us what we want. But now the ordinary people are coming out to say that they don't want the violence. And also, what is happening out of our peace movement is that we're getting these fantastic little groups growing up in Catholic and Protestant areas, and already we have the Catholics and the Protestants crossing over. And you know, the ordinary people of Northern Ireland, for the first time in history almost, are going to have an opportunity to say what they want in their society, and they themselves will take down the barrier of fear and the physical barriers in the community. They'll do it themselves, as they proved yesterday on the Shankill, the ordinary women and men of Northern Ireland.
I'm glad you brought that up, because when you said little groups doing something, immediate reaction is to say what? Words cannot fight the gunman. But yesterday was the first direct action that the peace people took. They stopped buses from being
Exactly. Well,
burnt,
no, this had
didn't
happened
they?
on the Falls Road the week before, where the women of the Falls had got out and stopped it, and we've had a few intimidations stopped. Do you know what I mean by intimidations, Elaine? I must explain this
must
to you.
explain this.
I.e., a Catholic family living in a Protestant area, someone would go to the door and say, you have 5 minutes to get out. You've got to get out of here, or i.e. The other way around. And we had 2 of those stopped by the Catholic women. We had bus burnings stopped by the Catholic women in Twinbrook and on the Falls Road. And yesterday, the Protestant women got out and done exactly the same thing. They stopped this happening. So the two communities will now start helping each other. I.e., if something happens on the Shankill Road, the Andersonstown women will go over and help the Shankill Road women, and vice versa. This is going to happen.
But you see, we don't only want to find peace in Northern Ireland, it's far more important than that. We want to change Northern Irish society. I mean, we're not, in the past we've just prayed for peace and hoped it would fall out of heaven. We've walked for peace and gone home. We've condemned violence, we've sat back and we said, isn't that terrible? But we've done nothing about it. And to condemn violence and do nothing about it is to be violent. Now we are saying people who march on come out to our rallies, we're saying to them they must dedicate themselves to working towards peace in their community. So they must go home and they must work out their dedication. This is, you've got our little declaration.
No,
piece.
can I ask you, when you say dedicate,
Yeah.
in detail that means what? Living 24 hours of every day positively for peace. It may take a lot of courage at times.
Well, this we want to change. I mean, all along in our society, we have glorified the gunman. Do you know we sing songs about men with guns who take life and destroy society? We sing songs about them in Northern Ireland. People all over the world sing songs about that. I mean, maybe it's woman's fault. She expects her man to be somebody with a gun and big muscles and able to knock the other guy down. To us, we want to change our way of thinking. The hero in our society is going to be the guy who cares about the one next to him, who's involved in his society, who's working together to build his society up. We're going to ask, there's going to be thousands of silent heroes in Northern Ireland, and they're the people who are going to stand up against the gunman and say, you're not acting for me. But for the first time also in Irish history, we're saying to the gunman, there is an alternative. You see, For a long time, many young men in our country have, on both sides of the divide, have taken the gun because there's been no other alternative. They've taken a gun because they felt it might be the way if someone would listen to them. I've lived in a community where I felt total frustration about violence perpetrated by men in uniform. I felt great frustration at this, but because I'm a pacifist, I never took a gun. But many young men did take a gun. But we're saying to those men now who belong to our society, we're not saying go out and get lost. We're saying you're part of our society. Put up your gun.
Yes.
Let's work towards peace. When we send men to the moon, why can't we get round a table and discuss? Tell us what you're trying to say, but not through the barrel of a gun.
It's strange, you mentioned the songs that glorify violence and the gunman. You have your own song, which is called very simply Peace.
Yes.
Now, how did that come about? Who wrote that for you?
Well, it
or was
wasn't-
it an old song that you
It
adapted?
wasn't really written for us. This was a song by Danny Feeney and a man called O'Hagan, who live in Derry. And 2 years ago, Danny happened to be in a spot where crossfire, British Army and IRA crossfire was going on. And in the distance, he saw a woman drop, as he thought a woman. And when he went across and turned her over, it was his 14-year-old sister, and she was dead. So that song is about 2 years old, but it's so totally, it is our movement. I mean, every word in that song is we walk peace, talk peace, think peace. We will live together. We will build together. We will act together. And all we have to do is think peace and talk peace. For so long in Belfast and Northern Ireland generally, the violent attitude, I mean, a total air of despondency, and that's the only way I can explain it to you. I would have been in a shop, and maybe a butcher's, for instance, buying a pound of meat for the dinner that night, and the lady beside me, she'd have said to you, wasn't that awful what happened last night? And then you just simply shrugged your shoulders. Fear, terror, what could you do? There was nothing you can do. But the people of Northern Ireland, as an individual, every one of them is strong within themselves. They can do something, from grassroots up, not from politician down. From grassroots up, we have 100,000 people who have come out on the streets of Northern Ireland to say they want peace, to say they're going to act out peace.
But it's not going to be a kind of peace that is going to fade away in 25 years. Old Irish tradition, history, I mean, always the rebels come back again. This peace is going to be a good, constructive, lasting peace, and we're going to unite the two communities in Northern Ireland. We're going to have Protestant and Catholic working together, everybody getting in and trying to sort of, if we sort of say to all the community now, every man within our community, perhaps this is what has happened out of our peace campaign, we've given back the individual his own self-importance. We've told the ordinary man, the woman in the street, that he can do something. And here you have these women coming out, knowing they are important to Northern Ireland. Be they 1 year old or 99, they have something to contribute to Northern Ireland. The individual is going to be the success of our movement.
You see, the thing that fascinates me, I know you've got massive community support, you've got worldwide support. You talk about individuals, you talk about grassroots. How strong is their support to you?
Well, I have a wonderful family, truly wonderful, and in every way since I've started this, every one of them solid 100% behind it. I'm very lucky in that respect. Also, my neighbourhood where I live, really good, solid people. They're too worried about their mortgage and how to get a day in to start going out to shoot and bomb and kill anybody. No, you know.
Yes, we've been threatened, but honestly, I can honestly say I'm not afraid of the gunman. You know, I'm afraid of the gun, yes, but I'm not afraid of the gunman because I want to know why he has that gun in his hand. For what purpose is he using that gun? And I want him to put that gun up and tell me what he's trying to tell me in another way. You see, these people with guns, they're part of our society. They think they're right in taking the gun because for centuries nobody has listened to what they've had to say. We're now at a point in Northern Ireland where we're saying to the people, try to listen to one another. And the Northern Irish people, the best people in the world. I've been around it and I know it. And you know, you just can't beat them no matter where they come from. And I think they're capable of getting together to listen to one another, to build a new society together.
Can I ask you if you become almost hardened? Because yesterday when we were talking, you're in London for just a couple of hours and we were saying, isn't it marvellous not to hear the ambulances going all the time? We outside really don't understand the life you have been leading all these years, do we?
Well, our national anthem is a siren, really. It's very, and the bomb scare, and It's just, we've just become accustomed to living that way.
And did it harden people?
Of course
to the
it
point where
did.
They say that your cousin was killed, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
I had a young cousin shot dead at his own front door by a Protestant paramilitary organisation. I've also had a friend, Joe Hughes, blown up by an IRA organisation. So I've seen violence in sort of all quarters. But what we were trying to say, it used to be, if wee Paddy done it, well, he was a Catholic, it's a tribal loyalty, the ghetto commandments, that if wee Paddy done it and he was a Catholic, that wasn't too bad. But if wee Billy done it on the Shankill, oh, that was shocking. And vice versa. If
Well,
wee
now,
Paddy done it on
are
the
you
Shankill,
sure that you will be able to break down these barriers and keep them down, that it will remain a non-political, non-sectarian movement? How are you going to ensure that? Because it can't be successful if it goes to one side of the barrier again.
We've
can
said
it?
we're non-political because a month ago I knew nothing about politics. I was too involved with handicapped children and teenage kids in Catholic areas to get because politics were a dirty business in Northern Ireland. But I mean, if politics is the way you care about people's lives, then we care about people in Northern Ireland. We believe in the people of Northern Ireland. We believe in their ability, as they've shown in the last couple of weeks, for the Catholics to go to the Protestants and the Protestants to go to the Catholic. The Protestant and Catholic people of Northern Ireland will unite. They themselves will take down the physical barriers and the mental barriers, and they themselves will come together in their little street groups to work together, to discuss their future, to build their future. And we are saying that the peace movement is not Mairead Corrigan and Betty Williams. The peace movement is the ordinary man and woman in the street in Northern Ireland now got back losing his frustrations, because now he knows that he's important to the community and that he can help in the community. But for long we sat back feeling frustrated because we had a few people talking on our behalf and we hadn't the guts to get up and say, you're not talking for us. We're going to show to the world that the people of Northern Ireland can be para-peace people. We're going to be guerrilla peace people. We're going to show the whole world just how good we can be.
When you say we, you no longer mean just the women for peace, do
no,
you?
we're peace people now. We have men on the streets as well. And you mentioned the Nobel Prize. My greatest joy would be to take that and hand it to wee Maggie on the Shankill for one of our rallies, and take it across the next week and give it to wee Mary on the Falls. Because Northern Ireland for so long has been such a violent, horrible, all evolving violence the whole time, that in the middle of all this, somebody said, well, somebody in Northern Ireland's done something constructive towards peace. Let's nominate them for the Nobel Peace Prize. You realise what a nomination that is? What a wonderful honour that would be for the ordinary grassroots people of Northern Ireland. It would be really something out of this world. Not Mairead Corrigan and Betty Williams. We're only the mouthpiece. But to go and give that to the ordinary woman on the Shankill or the Falls, or wherever she may come from, to carry that Nobel Peace Prize for the people of Northern Ireland.
The people who for so
everywhere.
long, for 7 years, have been living with violence. They haven't wanted it.
I have to say thank you now. I'm afraid our time is up.